Good morning. It looks like I am live, and I'm just going to turn the sound off on my laptop because you know how that makes a lot of noise. Let you know there's emails. So today I'm going to talk about exercise and whether exercise should be age related. I've got my friend Lisa coming on. She and I are working on the embodiment course together, and she is the fitness side of that. So the embodiment course is a 16 week course. Really it's 17 weeks, but there's an introductory session, and it rotates between me talking about health and Lisa talking about fitness, and Cinzia working with shamanic wisdom and journeying. So I met Lisa through Cinzia, and I know she's going to come on shortly. She is lucky enough to be walking in the Dolomites in Italy. She's actually from I think she might be from, she definitely lives in New Mexico. She may be from Texas, Alaska. But she's going to come on today to talk about exercise and whether we should sort of change exercise as we move through life, which of course many of you will probably be tuning into that and thinking, yeah, probably we should. Hi Rachel, nice to see you. And I know for myself that I had to really change the way that I did yoga. Yoga's always been a touchstone for stress for me. I started yoga when my son was in my belly, and that was 35 years ago. And I've been doing yoga in some shape or form ever since. And when I got to menopause, it suddenly didn't do what it... Here's Lisa. Let me see if I can invite her on. Usually I get a little icon saying I can invite someone on. So let me... Yay, I can do that. There we go. Ask Lisa. I'm going to send you an invitation, Lisa. So getting used to how it works with the phone, because usually I can add people from my laptop, but we couldn't do that yesterday. So hey, how you doing
there?
How are you?
I'm well. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly. How's northern Italy?
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's very cold here for me though. Sardinia, where I was in Sardinia, was close to 90 Fahrenheit, and now it's 35 Fahrenheit.
Oh my God,
yeah,
that is a massive drop. I kind of did that at the weekend. I went from London, which was, I think it was 17 or something, but then went to Devon and it dropped right down, and really felt the cold. It always hits me when that sudden drop, and I just think, oh, I just want a heater on, I want radiant warmth again.
Yes. But it's been beautiful. The Dolomites are gorgeous. We had a beautiful day yesterday. And lots of nice walking.
They look incredible. My first ever walking boots were called Dolomites, so I've always wanted to go, but never been.
It's lovely. I highly recommend coming here.
Yeah, is it your first time?
My first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And I know we're going to talk about fitness, but I know you do a lot of walking. Have you always been a walker?
I was, as a child, I spent a lot of times in the woods, in my grandparents' woods, and near the creek, playing in the creek and walking through the woods. So yes, I've always been a walker.
Yeah,
yes.
I think it was big in our family, really. I remember climbing in the Lake District, which is in the northwest, as I must have been about 8, and that when you feel like something kind of like catches you. So yeah, I've always walked, and I often talk actually about how sitting is bad for us, and walking over my favorite, I suppose, to talk about walking is that pavements aren't great for women because walking in a straight line on a hard surface doesn't move your hips, and if you move your hips, then you rotate around all those core muscles,
Absolutely.
And walking over lumpy ground gives you better shape.
Yes. Yes, and it increases proprioception. If you can let your foot move around a little bit, then your foot is your foot's very resilient. So your foot will jump. Will enjoy those different movements. Yes, and I'm a firm believer in a minimalist type shoe, one that lets the foot move a little bit. Yeah. So that we can keep those the soft tissue, they're very healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a lot of my friends are getting into Vivo barefoot shoes. I mean, there may be other brands around. I'm sure there are, but
Yes.
yeah, and I'm curious about that because I like walking on the earth. I know you do as well.
Yeah.
I've seen you walking on the earth.
Yeah. Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
I'm
that
barefoot quite a
grounding,
bit, actually.
the grounding practice is it's fundamental, I think, to menopause, to kind of creating time away from busyness and time, like introspectively, and grounding practice is fundamental to a fundamental part of managing menopause, I think. But I wanted to ask you, first of all, how did you get into being a fitness instructor? How did it kind of grab you?
Well, when I was in high school, I was in marching band,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't play an instrument. I choreographed the flag corps. So I was choreographing dance moves very early in my teen years. And then in college, and as a freshman in college, I took a dance style, a very choreographed dance style of movement class,
Mm-hmm.
and loved it. And the teacher approached me. I was 19. The teacher approached me. She said, maybe you should do this. Maybe you should teach this. I think you would enjoy this. And that was 40 years ago.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing when a teacher sees something in you?
Yes, I thought that too. I thought, wow, to have a teacher to inspire me so young, it's never led me astray. This has been my career.
Yeah.
For these last 40 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And we both have careers that we are endlessly fascinated by.
Yes. I never get bored.
I often say that too. That's so cool. And then I guess, the big thing really in this space, because, we've got women in my menopause group who are, a few women who are pre-menopause, so they're curious about the space, but tends to be a healthy balance between perimenopause, when things are beginning to change. What I call true menopause is like the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
When things are really ramping up and periods are going to stop. And then post-menopause, and just very briefly, my own story was that I had to change the way I did yoga, and I would go into yoga and come out as stressed as I'd gone in, or even more stressed from that kind of like perhaps quite vigorous exercise, the vinyasas, pushing the heart through. And I think, obviously everybody's different. It could be that was kind of calling my heart for me to take notice. And I got into restorative yoga. But now the other side, very much post menopause, I'm doing a stronger form of yoga than I've ever done, which is really quite interesting. The journey is interesting, and
I wanted
to, because you're an observer of all that and a supporter of all that. What would you say about exercise through the ages and stages of a woman's life?
Because I'm approaching the age of 60, so I have been, through menopause. And for me and for my clients, I have a lot of clients who come to me in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s and 80s. So I've got a full range of people around, perimenopausal, and then of course, obviously postmenopausal. And something that I find that helps all of them is if I encourage them to do some weight training, actually lifting weights. That tends to work for most of my clients because it also helps manage a bit of anxiety.
Great.
Not everyone enjoys the heavier weights. Some of my clients enjoy getting stronger and actually using heavier weights and doing more reps and sets, and the traditional type of, let's do a little bit more weightlifting. But yeah, it tends to manage their anxiety. And in my personal journey, that has been helpful to me because I've had a good bit of anxiety around it.
Yeah.
And if I can work out with my weights 2 to 3 times per week, then I feel better. Some people prefer more of the restorative, but like as you were saying, it depends on what part of the journey.
Yeah, and it wasn't, for me, I also got into bird watching. So that was walking and watching birds, and that quiet sort of spacious time on my own was fundamental. So it's not that I felt less strong. It was more that my system, I think, was weak from, you know, become weakened. And in terms of, so it wasn't, I felt, and that sounds like contradictory, but it was like organs were speaking to me and saying, we are tired, we need restorative action. And so that kind of quieter restorative stuff was there. And I think also I should qualify that, because in menopause my thyroid went low, so then I would get, you know, dips in energy. But I'm fascinated by the weightlifting or working with weights, because weightlifting implies massive barbells.
Right.
But, you know, working with weights to manage anxiety. And I would say quite a lot of women have got into that. I know there's someone in the group who often asks about muscular wastage. So I think that, to me, that is a lack of testosterone, and we all need a bit of testosterone.
Yes.
And I wondered, I also got in when I was probably late 30s. I have to look back in my diary, but early 40s. In that kind of early changing time, I was doing trapeze. So I was doing a lot of strength work.
Absolutely, you were,
and
yes.
it was what we call static trapeze, which sounds like you just sit still, but you don't. It's not the flying trapeze.
I understand.
Working on a swing. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was interesting because, you know, that did a lot of the weight stuff, you know, that a lot of load bearing and weights.
Absolutely.
And I think that, you know, that period of time, what I would notice is I absolutely loved that working out, you know, and I'd come home and feel like energized from it, but also like relaxed. It was really
absolutely
interesting.
it's a nice mix. It's a really nice mix.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you would you say that do you ever notice, because there's a lot of fitness instructors talking about food in relation to women's cycles, would you talk about that with exercise as well, that, you know, around ovulation when the energy is high, or towards the period things change? Do you notice that?
Well, to be honest, most of my clients are not in that phase of life anymore. They're perimenopausal. They may be ovulating, but it's not something we've chatted a good bit about as far as the food. I do refer most of my clients out to a nutritionist for that. But most of my clients, I'd say 95% of my clients are no longer ovulating.
No, I just wondered if there was a difference in exercise throughout the cycle.
There is,
you know, and that
there is, and
relationship.
there is. Yes, there is. I know there's great research out there. It's just not something that I have worked with.
You're working with.
Not at the moment.
Do you want to do a little, what would be a good morning exercise? Like, I've just got up not very long ago, and I'm sure it's the same for you. And I can spend a lot of my day sitting, and while I kind of might have solutions to that, what would you say are perhaps a couple of things that could be, if you know you're sitting all day?
I can tell people what to do with that all day long. Most of my clients do work. Most of my clients do work, especially if they're working with me. They come to me on their lunch break, or they come to me in the afternoons or early mornings before their work. And I say, let's get up from the desk at least every 25 minutes. Walking around is pretty simple. I mean, everyone can get up from the desk, walk around for a couple of minutes. But one of my favorite things to tell people to do, if you've got a pretty sturdy chair, is to stand and sit from the chair a couple of minutes. It's basically
literally getting up and down.
Sit and stand from the chair, because that is one of the most functional exercises that we can do. It's basically teaching someone how to do a squat.
It's true.
A squat is So you're just basically standing and sitting from the chair. Have your feet firm on the ground. You sit toward the front edge of your chair. And if you struggle, you sit toward the front edge of your chair. You make sure your feet are basically under your knees. I prefer folks to learn to do it with their arms crossed at their chest, because that way you're really using your legs. You're not pushing up with your arms. And you stand and sit from the chair for a few minutes. Exactly.
It's true. That is such a good, I can feel it, because obviously I do squats as part of, And the other thing I really love about that, with your feet firm on the floor, is how you feel your feet as you do that movement. So I really like that, and how
if I concentrate on keeping my knees and my hips in line,
yes, keep
that's
your
actually
toes
quite
pointed
a
forward.
strong
Yes,
action, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah,
It's,
love
and
it.
you're using what's considered the powerhouse. You're using your legs, you're using your hips, and you're moving your torso through space. And it's very functional. I mean, that's how we get around in the world. We get up from a chair and we walk somewhere and we sit down. We maybe get in the car, we get out of the car. So getting up and out of the chairs is actually, there's actually a test for it when clients come in to see me, when we do an initial fitness assessment. I test them on how quickly they can get up and out of a chair 5 times. And they're actually normative charts that help me decide where their vitality is. Yes. So getting out of a chair is a sign of vitality. Yes.
I'm going to get you to do it. It's true, because how many of us have helped an elderly person into a car or out of a car, or figured out which car to take an elderly person in?
That's right, Caroline.
So yeah, exactly. And
that's
with
right.
that kind of, even with that question I've seen in the group about muscle wastage, well, I would equate that to the dip in testosterone. We still exercises, however simple that is, like that would really, really help. That
helps.
Right.
That is one of the easiest things to do.
Yeah.
And it's one of the greatest ways to increase your vitality.
Yeah.
Just to practice that several times an hour. Yes.
I'm going to try and do that. And we need a little clock, don't we? We need to restructure our working day.
Yeah,
Just have
absolutely.
That get up and down. You could even be on the phone doing that.
Absolutely.
And, or at Zoom, as I just did.
Just set a timer for every 25 minutes.
Yeah.
The timer goes off and you get up and move around for 5 minutes. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I often find that, moving away, especially working at home, moving away from here and going into the kitchen and doing something to do with, it's kind of domestic stuff, like it might be washing, or it might be folding some stuff or whatever. And I always think those actions of ordering and doing are fundamental for women to generate progesterone, because progesterone is about, it's sort of, if we have good progesterone levels, then we can think more clearly. We have progesterone receptor sites in the brain, so we can think more clearly, we can see more clearly into the future, we can look back into the past and say, oh, I did it like that and that worked, I'm going to carry that forward. Or I did it like that didn't work, I'm not going to carry that forward. And it's how progesterone is a lot of how we advance and become human. No one's talking about that. It's all estrogen conversation, because we are predominantly we do have an estrogen dominance issue, and for many women, we don't necessarily metabolize synthetic estrogens well, and so we kind of hold that around the waist, and and I think sitting plays straight into that, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's part of that conversation.
I'm listening, and I'm really liking what you're saying about our daily activities being a part of keeping us healthy, because we're built to move. We've got arms, we've got legs, we can reach and hug and fold clothes and, build garden walls and, work on a spreadsheet at the same time. Yes.
Exactly. And if there's too much working on a spreadsheet, it's like, I really like that exercise. I know that sounds super simple, but so much was going on there. And, and also how you're holding your back in that.
Yes.
How about if somebody suffers back pain from sitting, what would any a little last minute tip around that?
Oh, I have something super easy, and there's a muscle in the belly, one of the deeper muscles in the belly, called the transversus abdominis, and for short, it's the TVA. And it's super simple. Draw it in, and if you think about drawing in your belly button toward your midsection, that creates intra-abdominal stability. And and the muscle is actually like a corset that goes all the way around the body and ties into the fascia in the lumbar, the thoracolumbar fascia. And that's in the back. Yes. So tucking in your belly button gives your back extra support. So I sometimes see folks wearing those back braces, those laced on back braces. You don't really need those. If you just tuck in your belly button, your body is naturally supporting you. If you draw in the belly button, your back will have that extra stability. It's not gonna...
So even doing that and releasing a few times eases the back, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. it's a great support for the back. It's a natural built-in, stabilizer for the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love all these things that we kind of have to learn.
And but they're also very simple, aren't they? I think we have to relearn them, don't you?
Yeah.
We know them. We just have to be reminded of them.
Yeah. And I think we do spend so much time seated in a way which, we weren't born with chairs, but we were born with the ability to squat,
absolutely,
kneel, and I think if we were living more rurally, not necessarily rurally in England, but and you can't sit on the ground because the ground is dirty or wet, so you have to squat.
You have to squat, or hip hinge,
Yeah.
or hinge at the hips. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're built for both of those things.
Yeah. So look, it's great that you've joined me today.
Thank you.
And no, it's really good. And we're going to be working together. I did intro with this just before you came on, but we're working together on the embodiment course, which starts at the end of October.
Yes.
And it's an online course, and it's actually 17 weeks, although we've talked about it in 16, but we've got an introductory week. And then we roll straight into either a week with me, a week with you, or a week with Cinzia, and then we all meet at the end. And so I'm talking health, maybe a bit about hormones, but self-care, looking after ourselves in the modern world, and looking after ourselves into old age. So you and I are both post-menopausal, and so we're looking at taking some grace and wisdom hopefully forwards. And then you're looking at fitness, exercise, and we know there are people in the group who are going to need some specifics around that, so that's great, really, that we've got this really attentive support, because you'll come in with exercises and I'll come in and say, well, you could be taking some tissue salts too, or you also need to be taking essential fatty acids or something, so we've got that support. And then there's the journey that we all make, that Cinzia looks after with a shamanic wisdom, that kind of diving deeper into how we enter into the world, because so much that happens, I think, in the world space requires us to disengage. We're like, oh, I can't deal with that information. And then it's harder to stick with our own journey, isn't it?
Yes, and we need to be physically present.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So in many ways, we're all bringing that presence, but into the online space. And I know for the section with you, I want to do your classes.
Great. I'm going to have over 30 videos. Yes.
I'm going to learn so much. I know. And I think exactly. I think we're all adding into the space. So it's an online forum for the course, and we're all going to be adding into that space with what we're carrying through. So by the end of the course, you have a self-care plan that's bespoke, really, because it's for you.
And it's also sustainable. It's
very much so. I think one of the things that we all feel about the course is that the idea is putting in place practice, supporting each other in establishing that, and then coming away with something nourishing. That is, so many courses you come away from, you don't really do them, or you do for a short period of time, and you need a reminder to come back. So I'll put a little link to that below.
Great.
And I've been putting things as we go, but if you want to share a video with me, or let me know, and I can put that into the group as well. If you've got one that you just think that would be great, after chatting, let me know, and I'll pop that into the group as well.
I actually have a short video. I think it's maybe two or three minutes. Mm-hmm. It's actually at my I believe it's at my Vimeo right now. I'll have to double check, but it's how to do a squat.
Brilliant. I love it.
Like what we were talking about. Yeah.
Brilliant. Let's do that. Thanks. So have you got a plan to climb a mountain today?
We are going to actually drive up to Austria and to go through Brenner Pass. We're going to be in our little car today, and then we'll hike again tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Have a wonderful time.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on, and we'll chat, and we'll put something up in the next few days.
That sounds great. All right.
Cool.
Thank you,
all
Caroline.
Right.
I enjoyed being with you.
Day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.